Hello, this is Dr. Jean. Dear future people, today we are going to have a lot of pictures, but also three new theories. Okay, so let's begin. Well, we start off by saying that increased sensitivity may mean increased point discrimination. What does that mean? Well, it means that the more you are focusing on one thing, the more you can see transient changes, okay, very small, refined changes, okay, and so you are able to distinguish between different points, okay. So a point here and a point here, if you are focusing enough, will be different to you, okay. You can discriminate between those 2 points as they are different, okay. Now that doesn't mean that the points are distinct, and this is very, very tough to understand. I understand that, okay? But all we are focusing here is difference, okay? So this point is slightly different from this point, and if you're focusing enough, then you will be able to see that, okay? Now, an increased sensitivity because of your focus, okay, maybe a function of general alertness, okay, you drank a lot of tea or you are really interested in something, so you are very alert, you're very awake, okay, and so you are able to focus with intensity, okay, and that may be due to an emotional response, since you have some emotional investment in what you are investigating, okay, so that can also increase the intensity of your focus, and with your focus being very, very intense, you will be able to see subtle, fine differences between 2 points, okay, and 2 points are imaginary. What I'm really saying here is one part of space-time and another part of space-time. So now, an increased sensitivity may mean that some perceive difference or change where others cannot. Okay? So you are more invested in something, you are more interested in something, you are more emotionally attached to something. So you focus more, so you have more sensitivity, so you notice things that others who are less invested cannot notice. Okay? So that you are seeing things that others believe are not really even there because they just don't notice it because they are not invested in it. Okay? Now, of course, this can go the other way, that you imagine things, but here what we are talking about is increased sensitivity because of increased focus, so you notice something that is there. Okay, so the classic saying, even the half-eyed is king in the country of the blind, is going to be reversed here. Even the half-eyed is crazy in the country of the blind. Why? Because other people are not invested as much as you are, okay, and so you notice things that they cannot see, okay, and so therefore they are gonna think that you are crazy. And sometimes if you are very successful, if you're very lucky, then they are gonna call you genius. But anyway, you are different. Why are you different? Because you are more invested, okay. You are able to see more refined differences that other people cannot see. So now this is going to be very important. I mean, look at the picture on the left, and you see that there are differences in color, okay, but these differences are continuous, okay. So there is transient areas, okay, from here to here there's a gradual change, and continuity is maintained. Now here, what you see here is that you have different colors, okay, forming different units. Okay, so this is one color, and there is a border between this part of space and this part of space, and so you have a distinct color in terms of not only different, but something that has a definite border. Okay, so that you see boundaries here, and since you see boundaries here, therefore you see units of color, okay, units of space. Okay, so you are seeing continuity here and you are seeing units here, a very important difference. So now, the more refined your perception, okay, the more you can differentiate things. So this is different from this, okay? But the more refined your perception, the less you are going to see things as distinct, because you see that there is really no boundary here, okay? You see that this and this, okay, is continuous. There's a transient area of space. There is transience between one and two, one and the other, okay? So that these imaginary black lines here representing border is not necessary for you, okay? Now, standard perception through categorization, and categorization is meaning that you rearrange things for easy understanding, okay? And part of rearranging these things is to divide things. So you divide things into standard units, okay? And then you build back, okay, things as if they were formed by units, okay? So now you have objectivity. Why? Because you say that we agree that this is a unit, okay, and this is a unit for everyone. So now you have a standard observer. Why? Because all the observers that you are communicating with agreed that this thing here, you see, this, is light green. And that light green is a unit, and it's different and distinct and has a border, okay, between this light green and this green or dark green, okay? So this is a matter of consensus, okay? You divide up, categorize things, okay, by making this separation, this distinction, okay? So now you are going to have objectivity. Why? Because you standardized your perception of how you see things, okay? So you are going to have a standard observer who should see it this way because it is this way. So now you generalize your standardization and you imagine, okay, that everyone would agree with you, that you have a consensus with everyone, okay, that everyone sees things like this and not like this. Because now everyone agrees that yes, there are separate, distinct colors, and there's no transient areas of shades. No, you have distinct colors, okay? And you ignore differences in sensitivity. Maybe somebody is so sensitive that for that observer, it really doesn't look like this, it looks more like this. But that observer is taken out of the equation. You are going to say that that person is a crazy person, okay? That person is an error, okay? And so therefore, you cut out that person from your community of standard observers who should see things this way. And if you convinced everybody, okay, to see things this way, then things are to be seen this way. Then things are this way. You understand how this goes? Standardization here involves indoctrination and coordination, okay, and imaginary extension, because you think that you can convince everybody to see things this way. And people who see things this way are crazy, okay? They are stupid. They're foolish, okay? So, standardization of perception creates a mass perception, okay? So that you indoctrinate others to see things this way, so you have mass movements, okay? A whole community of people see things this way, okay? And that will aid your communication and cooperation, because it's very it's very easy to follow isms. It's very easy to follow mass movements, okay? So if you indoctrinate people, then, okay, everybody sees things the same, so it's very easy for you, okay? But this is at the price of suppressing differences in sensitivity, of refinement, of investment, okay? So you coordinate everybody, okay? And you are so happy, because if you coordinate everybody, then you create a multitude. And if you create a multitude, then you have the majority. And you only have to deceive the majority and you are in place. Okay? And the crazy people, they just go to the lunatic asylum. So here's what happens. Standardization of perception uses methods such as classification, categorization, sharp contours, ignoring transitions. Because why? It's not only indoctrination, but it's also convincing people to not dig deeper, to not be refined, to not see the underlying continuity and transitions, okay? You establish these units and everybody should believe them and everybody should follow you, okay? And so they don't recognize that these are artifacts anymore because they have been indoctrinated for thousands of years following some mass religion, mass, I don't know what, okay, science or philosophy or something like that, okay? So they will see things this way. So now, there are more tricks, okay, to reinforce this idea. Standardization of perception makes the world smaller and less variable. Because why? Because if you are not able to see subtle differences and you see only units, okay, then there are only so many units and they are uniform anyway. So the world is less variable. If the world is less variable, okay, then you take your small locality, okay, and you imagine that every other locality is like your locality, okay? So the world becomes an extension of your locality, okay? So your locality is enhanced and projected toward infinity as a compensation. So if you observe that the world is large, yet your perception of the world is small, okay, then the difference is made up by extension. This, okay? Everything is similar here compared to here. I just cannot see it that well, okay? Everything is similar here compared to here. It's just larger, okay? And that's the only difference, that it's larger. So now, okay, notice that this is really based on this, okay? And now you are beginning to see what is really happening here, okay? That you create these artifacts, okay, these numbers, these huge numbers, based on what? Repetition. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And behind all repetition, there is what? Once more, behind all repetition, there is iteration. You see? Mechanic iteration. And mechanic iteration, okay, is based on units multiplied. So your units, your standard local units, are standardized, and the standard units are then multiplied, extended mechanically. You see how this goes? And indoctrination is able to make you believe that this is not an artifact, but this is part of nature. And then people believe that, oh my God, mathematics, is some secret ingredient of nature. And they do not see that this is an artifact based on mechanical iteration and extension of something, of a unit. So, here comes number theory reinterpreted, okay? So we are going to say that the number 1, is really a symbol of a standard unit, any standard unit, okay? Be it a unit of observation, be it an object, be it which is a unit of space, okay? Or a unit of anything, okay? And remember, unit is always an abstraction, because you have a distinction between two things, but then you also separate these two things as if they were separate, because you don't see the transient part between the two, okay? So that you will see things as distinct. You separate this out. And when you're talking about the mathematical operation of division, this is what you do. You separate things, you separate things in an imaginary way. Separate things that belong together. And you separate things in a standard way, in a uniform way. So 1/6 of something or 1/8 of something, okay? Division. Multiplication is mechanically extend something. Remember? Look. This 10 is multiplied by 10. And it's to whatever power is how much you multiply it, okay? Multiplication is always a mechanical extension of something, okay? A mechanical extension of something. Ignoring differences in observer and ignoring differences in the observed, let alone the interaction between observer and observed, okay? So it's a mechanical extension. So now, numbers are really sets of 1. So 2 is a set of 1 and 1. So numbers are really sets. And most numbers, okay, not all numbers, but most numbers can be derived from 1 in some way, except 0. Because 0 reads not 1. So there is not a unit. So 0 is not a real number, because it's a concept. You see, it's a concept which has a symbol, this. But the real numbers, I'm not talking mathematically here, I'm talking from the point of view of Vitologia here. So numbers are sets of abstract standard units, okay? So 0 is not unit, it's not a set, it's not a number. And infinity, mathematical infinity, is a symbol for endless iteration of a mathematical operation, okay? For example, multiplication. So it's not a number, okay? It's multiplying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So it's iteration of multiplication, okay? And then you get this very high number. And remember, iteration is always a kind of extension. When you extend things like this, you see, you extend things like this. But whenever you extend things mechanically, you ignore local differences. And you have a quasi-dimensional world. And whenever you have a posi-dimensional world, then you need standardization and coordination to maintain this artifact. So now, you can see from all of this that the idea that reality has a pure, ideal, permanent basis, units, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are units or ideas, freedom, happiness, units, okay? Whenever you believe this, you have a reductionist view. Why? Because you believe that units are standard. Okay, they can live in combination, but they are there. They are standards, okay? Materially and also, ideologically, there are standard units like this. Okay? So that's a reductionist view. You simplify everything into standard building blocks, units. But there is another way of thinking about all of this. That reality is organic, so it's continuous. Look. Continuous. Okay, with all kind of transient areas here, okay, binding this to this, not distinct things. Okay? So now, if you see the continuity, if you see that really everything is connected with everything else, then you have a holist view. And to make that even more complex, okay, you are going to have a new idea. And that idea is that you are not following the outcome of one single particle, or one single standard unit, okay? But you integrate all possibilities, okay? And when you integrate all possibilities, so this can happen, and this can happen, and this can happen, and this can happen, okay? So this encompasses all that can happen, all possibilities, okay? And in time, it probably will happen if space and time are infinite, if reality is infinite, okay? Then you have a more holist view, a more integrative view, because you consider all possibilities. And if you consider all possibilities, then you are like a screen, okay? This can happen, or this can happen, or this can happen, and I consider everything that can happen. And yeah, it's important what actually happened. Yes, that is important. But that's not the only important thing. You also are interested in what can happen or what could have happened. You consider all of this, okay? So now, chess. You have chess players, which are standard unit. They are separated out, they are independent of each other, and they all differ by color and ability, okay? So one is better, the other one is not so good, okay? And one is with the white pieces, and the other one is with the black pieces, okay? So you separated things out. One chess player, independent, separate. The other chess player, independent, separate. They have no connection with each other, okay? And they are different only in terms of color and ability. You see, that's standardization. But it's not like that, of course. Well, anyway, there are optimal moves, because why? This person wants to win, and this person wants to win, and this person is this good, and this person is this good, okay? And there has to be an optimal person with optimal moves, okay? And even in a given situation, there's an optimal move, okay? Irrespective of the uniqueness of players or the unique relationship. And then you play that optimal move and you win, okay? And therefore chess really is an objective thing which can be modeled by mathematics, Okay, like this computer here can model chess, and then the computer will beat everyone. Okay, but the problem is that it's not like that. It is not true that one chess player is separate or independent of the other, because one chess player, okay, reacts to what the other chess player is doing, and what this chess player is doing is not only dependent on the situation or the ability of that person, but also style, okay, or some temporary motivation, or the knowledge of what this person usually does. So this person is relative to this person when they, even in this very artificial setting, when they play chess. So this person and this person is in a relationship. They are not only different in ability and in color, and it's not enough to play optimal moves. They need to make moves predicting what the other person is going to do. Because I know that person. I know that in a situation like that he or she is likely to play this or that. And I count on that. And for me, an optimal move is going to be relative to the other person that I'm trying to defeat. You see? So when you are modeling this by mathematics, you lose all the personality and the interaction between two chess players. That's not chess anymore. That's some idealized abstract artifact, an artifact of an artifact. Okay? And remember, chess is a very highly artificial thing. Now think about when you look at natural things. So, really, let's look back here. I would almost say that the test for artificiality is if you can divide and multiply something without limitation, then that must be artificial, you see? Because it's highly processed, it's highly standardized. So you create replaceable parts. Okay, you discard this person, you substitute it with another person, okay, because it's replaceable parts. Organic uniqueness? No way, no. You want replaceable parts. It's all mechanical. And this is what people believe in 2023. And it's, well, let's not say anything. So, you are here. You are here, okay? So there is this whole huge mechanical standard physical universe, okay? And in that thing, you are an insignificant small part. You are insignificant. It doesn't matter how you are insignificant. Why? Because the mechanical physical universe is large and you are small. And this is the only thing that we are interested in. That this is large and significant and you are small and insignificant. Science. Standardization of perception creates the feeling of insignificance due to ignoring local uniqueness, differences in sensitivity, as well as organic unity. So what is here? Okay, depends on what is here. And that's independent of how big you are. You influence things here. Because the whole thing is an organic unit. And then, therefore, you understand that this whole thing is a sham. Yes, you are significant, and dignity comes from that you are significant because you're unique. But you see, for that you need to have sensitivity and investment. Because we said that sensitivity, point discrimination, I mean, seeing the differences, the uniqueness, okay, of one point versus the other. Okay, they're not separated, but they're different. Okay, so now all of a sudden you're gonna see that even what is very small can be very highly significant, and it is. Because with a high degree of sensitivity, there's no things like this. Look, this is no repetition. There is no endless iteration of things, okay? Because you are sensitive, and you are sensitive to local uniqueness. Why? Because you are able to see even subtle differences, and you are able to appreciate subtle differences, okay? So, small differences and small changes do matter to you. Why? Because you see things. You see even subtle differences. You're not indifferent to subtle differences, to local uniqueness. And you are not indifferent to transients, okay? Transient things. So you see that things are really not separated, but between this and this, there is something, okay? There's no border here. And so you are also going to see that, yes, big numbers are so wonderful, but big numbers are extensions, you see? And then you laugh out the equation of this all. Because why? Because you know that standard units are always abstractions. They are artifacts. Even the most ridiculous way to depict this would be this standard unit is not the same as this standard unit. And of course, they are not standard units. This is part of a tree, part of a community of trees, part of everything, okay? But even if you imagine that, okay, there are standard units, one standard unit is not equal to another standard unit, okay? Yeah, they are all fruits, but fruit comes from your classification, okay? Fruit is your category, okay? The way you order things, the way you categorize things. But this is really not just a fruit. This is a different fruit than that. So you might love apple, you might love orange. You might love apple and an orange, okay? But the two things are not the same. You love the apple differently or at different times than you love oranges. And one person may love apples more than oranges, okay? They're not the same for everyone, okay? For this person, apple is an apple, and for this person, an orange is an orange. And they're not two fruits. You see? They're not two fruits. 1 and 1 does not equal 2. Sensitivity creates a unique local perspective. And life experience is the idea that facts, okay, are processed from a unique local perspective. And this is not denying the usefulness of objectivity, standardization, and artifacts. It's seeing the limitations, okay? It's understanding, okay, that in mathematics, you can have one fruit and one fruit, and one fruit and one fruit equals 2 fruits. But here, you have a relationship between this apple and this person, and this orange and this person, okay? And one is not a standard unit, and one is not the same as the other. Unique life experience, unique experience. And now, once we understood this, let's talk about goodness. So, we already talked about goodness when we were talking about religion, remember? And we said that goodness is the ultimate aim for religion. So, goodness is a relative term. What do you consider good? It depends on your interest, your viewpoint, your unique interpretation. Yet, whatever is healthy, harmonious, full of life, organic, creative, nurturing, is very often considered as good. Okay? Among subjective relative terms, goodness is most often considered as a given, almost a divine gift. Yet goodness is proactive, never passive, and needs an active maintenance. Okay, so you recognize good. I mean, you have a different interpretation of good. You can have a good criminal, okay, which means that he's good at whatever he does, okay? But yet, when you talk about goodness in general, I mean, you kind of feel that there is a commonality of things. You know, you understand that goodness is something that you can just feel. And a good person is always active. A good person is going to help you, is going to consider you in everything that's happening. A good person is going to listen to you, but goodness needs active maintenance. So goodness is not a given, you know, because a good person, if a good person is sick, then the goodness will be less proactive, less obvious, you know. So goodness presupposes, harmony, inner harmony, health, activity, organization, okay? So to maintain goodness, you are going to need active maintenance. Goodness is active. It requires effort, courage, and creativity. You know, goodness is never passive. Whatever is passive is not good. Goodness is not doing bad things. That's not enough. Goodness is go out there, consider, and listen. And on that basis, act. So from this, you immediately see what connects goodness to what we said before. Now, let's look. Goodness. Goodness. Here. This is goodness. Okay? You have a very intense interest and a very intense focus. Okay? But you also understand that you are part of this, an organic part of this. Not like this, I am this and not that. No, you feel that you are an organic part. You are a continuous part. Okay? So goodness comes from that. So goodness is positive. Building, educating, tending, creating. Why is this? Because goodness is always proactive. Goodness is being involved. Goodness is understanding that you are an organic, important, okay, part, an organic part of something whole. And if you understand that you are an organic part of something whole, okay, then you are going to go out and do things. You are going to live life. And living life never means living a separate life. Living life means living life in the whole. Okay? Goodness is divine. It is the ultimate aim of religious traditions. Okay? Every religion is trying to make people good. Community is good. But really, goodness is, you see, the result of what? Of community spirit, of community practice. And what is religion? A community practice, a community spirit, okay? Based on unique life experience of a group, okay? So when you have a group with a unique life experience, then that group practicing the unique worldview is going to practice religion, and you have different religious traditions, but they all share the common goal of creating goodness. Goodness, which is the result of a well-organized community. And the members of that community feel that they belong to that community. And they consider, they listen to the community as a whole because they are an organic part. They are an important part. They are not a replaceable part because they have a unique contribution. You see, that community is alive. And since that community is alive, it needs unique contribution. Because life is never standard. What is standard is an artifact. Okay? Life does not consist of standard units. These are not standard units. These are organic parts, one influencing the other. One influencing the other. One influencing the other. Okay? They are not separate. And they are unique. They are not standard. Okay? And this is not a multitude of children. This is not a multitude of monks. This is a community of children and a community of monks. And this is an interaction between a sick person and the healer. And this is an interaction between somebody blessing a child. It's a mutual, it's an interaction. You see, it's not one separate to the other. No. It's an interaction. Okay. So goodness needs practice and cultivation. Well, guess what? Goodness is not a given. Okay? Goodness is not permanent. Like never anything is really permanent. It requires active energy, deep organic thinking, imagination and planning so that you can do good deeds. Okay? Yes, you listen to your heart. But your heart needs constant reorganization. Your heart needs constant reinterpretation of things based on processed and uniquely processed life experience. The cultivated mind, which is the basis of heart, okay? A cultivated mind, which contains emotions and imagination and everything, because mind is not rationality. Remember the ocean, okay? Conscience versus the deep. So it bears fruit, radiating out goodness through a constant, well-planned practice. You see, you always consider what you do based on your unique thinking, and then you try. And plans, can be modified, but you have to have a plan, So goodness, communication and cooperation beyond reward and punishment. Because you don't do things for reward, and you don't do things to avoid punishment. You do good deeds because of conviction, because of your heart. And the heart comes from an organic mind, understanding that we are all part of an organism. And our perspective, the wider the better, okay, is trying to encompass the entirety of that organism, okay, to whatever degree is possible. Goodness is for its own sake, like life. Life is for its own sake. Goodness is for its own sake, not because if I do this, then this is going to happen. Yeah, well, that's also a consideration, but that's not the basic consideration. It may have a focus on an object, but fundamentally it is for life in general. Goodness is for life in general, not for this or that. Yeah, at some level, I do good things for my child, or I do good things for a specific community. Yes, sure. But goodness can be extended. And extended specifically. Goodness is going to be different on this direction, that direction, that direction. But there is a fundamental common denominator okay, behind goodness. And that is the feeling, the awareness of the organicity of reality, of which is called life. So accomplishment, merit, honor, recognition are side effects of goodness. Okay, so if you do a good thing, it may be appreciated, or you may be recognized for it, or you may get a medal for it. But that's not the reason you do it. It's a side effect. Okay, you get it or you don't get it. They listen to you or they don't listen to you. They appreciate you or they don't appreciate you. But goodness is not for the sake of these things. They are side effects. Goodness is unique. Goodness is unique because goodness means different for every locality. It's beyond categories, it's beyond regulations, it's beyond measure. You cannot be good because of some law or rule. Goodness comes from a feeling, from the soul, from the realization that you are part of an organic whole. You are not separated. Because if you feel you are separated, you are immediately going to be a parasite. And then you go idolatry and empire, remember? And that is a basis of our moral philosophy. Because what we said is that if you really invest in cultivating your mind, then you will be able to invest more into investigating things, into focusing on things. And you are going to be more sensitive, and you are going to be more unique. And if you do that, then you will have life experience and a unique cultivation in your mind based on that life experience. And because of that, you're going to be good. And you will feel a state of mind that we call traditionally heaven. Now you may ignore all these things and you are saying that, I am too lazy for that. Okay, I'm just going to believe what they told me. That's called emulation. Okay, so, they told me from a realpolitik point of view, it's like this, and it should be like this, and it's like this, and period. And I just take it over without any unique processing, and I say, well, this great person said it this way, so it has to be this way. I'm not going to process it. I'm not going to think about it. I just take it as a given. Okay? That's called emulation. Okay? And then you're going to delegate things. And you're going to say, well, I don't care about my style of cooking. I don't care about how I order my own house. I delegate it out to a service that's going to be uniform. Well, it may have some variables, but it's a professional service. It's going to be uniform, and I'm going to do this for this amount of money, and let them do this for that amount of money. Okay, so you delegate out your core functions, which means loss of uniqueness, loss of style, loss of feeling. I cook this for my child specifically. Okay, all that is lost. So then you are going to be standardized, coordinated. And you become a human particle, okay? Just like there are particles in nature, there are particles in societies, okay? And that's called an individual. And I call that a human particle. And human particles are replaceable because why? One is largely the same as the other, okay? So, okay, you discard this and you pull this instead on the place of the other that you discarded. Replaceable, okay? Why are human particles replaceable? Because one is almost the same as the other. One has the same functionality of the other. And since you do not have a holistic view, you see human particles as this, like this. Okay? Now, that will lead to parasitism, thinking of people as function, exploiting them. Okay? That will lead to idolatry, okay? You can exploit people if you make them emulate and delegate, which means empire, and empire is based on idolatry, standardized conceptions, standardized thoughts, and that will lead to hell. Okay? So you have heaven, which is organic, and you have hell, which is mechanic. But we see the difference. These children are unique, but they are not separate. They play together, they form a community. Okay? So they represent for us uniqueness and organicity. Organicity, belonging together, forming something, a greater unit together. Well, it's really not a unit, but just approximating that idea. Unique contribution to an organic togetherness, an organic belonging, okay? Versus uniformity, yeah, I mean, one cockwheel is a little bit different from the other. They have different positions, they have different length or magnitude or maybe even different materials, okay? But they are largely the same. So they can be replaced, okay? They are uniform and they are separate, okay? This, yeah, I mean, it cooperates with this, but only in a standardized way, only for this function, okay? So this is heaven, and this is hell, and there are all kinds of transients in between the two, okay? So what we are seeing here is that mental inertia, okay, versus life experience really determine a lot of things. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and goodbye.